All right, we're gonna have Arun on now so that you guys can yell at an Indian dude instead of me, because I'm sick and tired of you yelling at me. Okay, Arun and now, everybody.
What's up, everyone?
Why are you defending Pakistan?
It's a good question. I don't know.
How much did they
I don't know.
pay
Their
you?
food spicier.
How much did they
The
pay
cost
you?
per murgi is less. I don't know. The cost per chicken is much less. No, I'm just joking. The chicken cost in Pakistan is much less than in India. You know.
How much did they pay you? Be honest. Well, you're a secret Muslim. We found out.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. I think it was like 5 million rupees, which is like $5.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you feel like my analysis on the situation is crazy when I say, like, both of these nation states have their faults, have their own scandals, have their own corruption, have their own supremacist ideologies? Having said that, I feel like so far I'm seeing a level of bloodlust from India, both the population and the government, and a need for escalation from the Indian government that I am a little bit worried about. Do you feel like it's
No,
unfair?
you're not off. You're not off base. No, you're generally in the right. So yes, India has been I've been keeping up with the news lately, or with the Indian news coverage of everything. And Murtaza Hussain over at Drop Site had a really interesting take that I thought was happening for a little bit, but looks like I was wrong. But you're generally right. Yes, both Pakistan and India are effectively states that were created by the upper crusts of the subcontinent, and there's a lot of history behind how like Pakistan and India were actually like created. Pakistan has since devolved into effectively a far right-wing military dictatorship that funds militant groups, sends them over to the border into Kashmir, right? And India has also, for decades upon decades upon decades, there is a marked difference between India under Modi and India under Congress leaders such as Manmohan Singh and, other leaders preceding Manmohan Singh, in that India was at least like, there was always an undercurrent of Hindu nationalism happening underneath, which came to a head in the 90s when the Mandal Commission happened.
Okay, hold on. I need you to address the Indian chatter.
Can we address the elephant in the room of Arun Annow's Russia won't invade moment from the last collab? Listen, I didn't think it was going to happen. I'm going to be 100% honest. I didn't think it was going to happen.
Look, okay. Don't worry about that. Here, listen to him. He said India became this way because of Muslims. Muslims did this. Pakistan started this bloodlust. Dude, Pakistani army has done a genocide. Ask him to show how this started. India was made like this because of Pakistan. Hindutva existed before Mandal Commission. Hindutva started with Muslim League.
Okay, he's right in that Hindutva existed before the Mandal Commission. The event that I'm referencing is the demolition of the Babri Masjid in the 90s that happened in the wake of the Mandal Commission. That's what I'm talking about, okay? Okay, so going back to what I was saying earlier, right? What Hindutva is at its ultimate core, like if you've noticed, almost every leader, I think every leader of, the RSS, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, has been Brahmins, right? They've always come from either some sort of upper caste or they're Brahmins, right? And why is that? And the reason is the way Hindutva or Hindu nationalism, they're the same thing. They're effectively the same thing. The way they operate and their modus operandi is by blurring the divisions, the caste antagonisms that exist within India to basically attack Muslims and Christians, right? RSS is caste extremist organization. Okay, so I think this dude's like a lib or something, I'm assuming. He sounds like a lib to me. But Hindu-Muslim happened before Babri? Dude, let's talk about how India and Pakistan got partitioned a little bit, okay? A little bit of history. So you had one group of people called the Muslim League that was basically saying, hey, Muslims are going to be persecuted under a Hindu majority India. Now, that reasoning on its own is not incorrect, especially if you look at Modi right now, right? That's not an incorrect reasoning. But what was happening is that most of the Muslim League, if you actually look at the leadership of the Muslim League, especially Muhammad Ali Jinnah, right, who is the founder of Pakistan, right? They all came from basically upper caste Muslim backgrounds, upper class Muslim backgrounds. And there was a counter movement to the Muslim League at the time that was basically, no, what about 70 years of secular rule? Dude, I just said that earlier, boss. I said that, yes, everyone that was from the Congress party and up until Modi, until Modi took power, and also Vajpayee took power. Vajpayee is BJP, right? until those two guys took power, the Congress leaders are at least secular. They claim to be super secular, and they are considerably more secular than, yes, both the Hindu Mahasabha and the Muslim League were going and telling people to mark their religion as Hindu or Muslim. Now, the problem is both Hindus, the caste system in Hinduism is extreme, right? It's the worst in Hinduism. But the thing is, because caste is such an integral part of subcontinental society, it's penetrated every other religion, right? So Christians also practice caste, right? So Christians also practice untouchability, and so do Muslims in the subcontinent. They also practice untouchability and caste as well. So there was a counter movement to the Muslim League saying, "Hey, we are not represented by Muhammad Ali Jinnah." It's called the Momin Conference, and they basically went to Nehru, who was the head of the Indian National Congress at the time, and they basically said, "Hey, listen, what Jinnah is doing is they're coming from elite backgrounds that don't represent us." Now, what happened was Nehru basically literally came back and said, "Yes, we agree that the Muslim League is basically run by elite upper caste Muslims, right? But we have to go along with partition, because if we let you guys have a voice, if we let you guys have that sort of voice, then what'll happen is the oppressed caste in our ranks in the Indian National Congress will try and rise against us." So the only reason that partition happened, or Nehru actually agreed to partition mainly, was because it would actually reveal the caste antagonisms within this entire charade, right? And that's what I was trying to get at, right, with this chatter.
By the way, we don't have to listen to this guy. I'm just...
No, I know. It's up to you. It's all up to...
I mean, it's cathartic watching you yell at chatters.
I mean, I do. I mean, this is what I do.
Nehru brought Hindu code bill even after RSS opposition.
Okay, dude. Whatever.
All right. Anyway, go on with what you were going to talk about.
So that's how partition actually kind of happened.
So why are you hiding the truth that Pakistan is actually striking back extra hard, and so much harder than India ever struck Pakistan?
Oh yeah, totally, man. It's not like I've been saying in chat this entire time that Pakistan has been hitting Kashmir this entire time. They've been hitting Kashmiri villages in Jammu, and villages in Indian-controlled Kashmir on the other side of the border. Yeah, totally, man. Totally, man. I've never said that. Dude, I'm so pro-Pakistan that I have genuinely backed the Baloch Jagjati Committee, have criticized Pakistan for imprisoning Mahrang Baloch. I've also criticized Pakistan vehemently for literally selling weapons to Sri Lanka. Like, they're also complicit in the Tamil genocide. Maybe not to the same extent India is, because India actually committed war crimes against the Tamils. But yeah, I'm totally pro-Pakistan. Totally, man. Yeah, I'm totally pro-Pakistan. I've never criticized Pakistan before. Absolutely. Also, the funny thing is, so when you had me last, right, you also had Pakistanis criticizing me for saying, "Oh, Pakistan cares about Kashmiris. Kashmir is actually the jugular of Pakistan. You don't understand. We are ideologically aligned with Kashmir." Yeah, totally, dude. That's why the Pakistani army just slaughtered 10 civilians across the line of control. Absolutely. Totally, man.
Okay. But in terms of attacks, where the attacks are landing, what the severity of said attacks are, regardless of Pakistan also striking across the line of control, it seems as though India is directly striking inside of Pakistan in a way where Pakistan, as far as I understand, and maybe I'm wrong, in a way that Pakistan has not returned the favor on.
See, sorry, one more thing. Indian speaking on Pakistan, great. You're fantastic.
Okay. Well, you pissed off everybody. At least Pakistan's how do you say it? Zinzabad?
It's called Zindabad. Zindabad means long live.
Zindabad. Pakistan Zindabad Andes weren't yelling at me. Now they're yelling at me too.
Yeah.
My life for Pakistan, chatters. You know this. Okay.
This is so stupid.
Okay.
Now you see the kind of brain rot that I have to deal with.
No,
regularly.
It's awesome. It's dope. I love it. It's like Balkan chatters. It's exactly like Balkan chatters.
I've said this before. It's like Balkan. This is like if Balkan chatters are like turned up times 10.
Oh yeah, it's worse.
It's worse than it's way worse.
Because at least the Balkan chatters don't have a caste system. Like, it's ethnic conflict, it's religious conflict, and there's hundreds of years of history. But at least they don't have a caste structure on top of that.
Oh yeah, And also, like, Pakistan also has a caste structure. Like every nation in the subcontinent has some sort of caste structure. Sri Lanka has it, India has it, Pakistan also has it. But it operates obviously very differently depending on the country and depending on the region. But every like caste
Someone
is
said you're wrong. Albania is on the bottom of the cast. Yeah. Okay, fair.
That's awesome. There's also Indian Muslim politicians. There's a guy called what was it, Asaduddin Owaisi, literally going up and yelling like Hindustan Zindabad, Pakistan Murdabad. Right? Murdabad means death to. Yeah. Owaisi is a
So there is a broader Indian nationalism though, like that goes beyond Hindutva fascism that is very scary because it feels like they're emboldened and galvanized through like state versus state violence. So they've been able to reframe the conflict not against like Hindus versus Muslims, but instead to India versus Pakistan.
Yes. I mean, that's the thing. So the thing with Indian civic nationalism, as a lot of people call it, is just Indian liberalism, right? So basically, like Indian liberalism has always been, basically pro-Indian state no matter what when it comes to issues like Kashmir, right? Like Kashmir is like the one issue you cannot really or Pakistan for that matter, you really cannot question, like even in the wake of the Pahalgam attacks, the way Indian liberals basically framed the entire discussion was, hey, why was there such a security breach? Which is correct, right? It's a correct thing to question, right? Why was there such a security breach in Pahalgam?
No, that's why I think that's why I have a tinfoil. My tinfoil conspiracy is that Pakistan and China have too sweet of a deal, and that America wanted. I mean, I'm making this up. This is wee speculation.
I don't think America's involved in this.
I think they were like, yeah, get in there, do some crazy, and then they were like, India, go ahead, India Zindabad, come up. I'm false flag pilled.
Instead of Hindustan Zindabad, you might hear Jai Hind, or like if you really want to turn up the fascist, you can say Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
What does that mean? Bharat Mata Ki Jai?
Bharat Mata Ki Jai is long live or victory to Mother India, basically.
Okay.
Bharat Mata means Mother India. Jai means victory, so victory to Mother India.
Okay. Chatters are actually getting mad at me for saying, this is not about you, man. Please talk about the issue, then go. You're so unserious, really losing credibility. Actually, they might be yelling at you, not me. I don't know. I thought they were yelling at me.
I mean, let them yell at me. It's fine.
Everything is not about America.
I mean, I got called a DMK agent, so let them. Like, it's fine.
Anyway,
been called.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not. You don't think it's America related. You think it's just like tuned up fundamentalists that did this, and India is striking without.
I have a conspiracy theory of my own.
All right, let's hear yours.
So recently, I don't know if there's any proven basis in this, but very recently, over like the past several years, there's been a push for a caste census in India, right? And the reason that caste census is super important is that, so like I mentioned earlier, the way Hindutva operates is that it basically relies on Brahmins are like 5% of the population, something like that. Upper castes are maybe like 10 to 20% of the population, but they have all the power, right? You look at the media, you look at the judicial system. I think, I don't remember the statistics off the top of my head, but I think over the past 3 years, it was like 97% of high court appointees was like, they were UC, they were from the general category, right? Something like that. I'm probably fudging the numbers a little bit, right? So the way Hindutva works is that it buries the reality that there's a disproportionate representation of upper castes in both like the government, right? In power, the media, and basically all the main reigns of power that exist in India, right? So that's the actual reality, right? And especially if you look under the British, right? And you look at the Madras presidency, Tamil Brahmins made up 3% of the population, but they held, depending on the occupation, anywhere from 50 to like 90% of the jobs. So it's always been a huge problem in India, and it's still a problem, right? Now, the thing is, the Hindutva wants to completely bury this. They want to completely bury this reality because their goal is to eradicate Muslims and Christians and and communists as well. Those are the three groups of people. It was Golwalkar or Savarkar said that need to be eliminated. But in order for them to do that, they need to create this idea of a unified Hindu, demographic that never existed, by the way. Hinduism was never a unified religion. What happened was when the British came, a lot of their advisors were Brahmins. And so the Brahmins basically told the British, hey, the books that we wrote, the Dharma Shastras and the Shastras, the Smrtis and all of that, this is what's called Hindu law, right? We're going to call this Hindu law. So in order to make the British administration of the subcontinent much easier, they basically lumped everyone that wasn't Muslim and that wasn't Christian as Hindus, right? And that also included Sikhs for a while, right? Now going back to this, right? So Hindutva wants to basically unify these very disparate groups of castes into one demographic called Hindus. And they want to weaponize this Hindu, demographic against Muslims, right? But this, broad coalition of like roughly 1 billion people relies on the majority of the population not understanding their caste position in society, right? There's an India Inc. video that I want to pull up. And these guys are, if you are learning about India politics, right? This is a must watch. This is your first intro to the caste system. You actually have to watch this because this will give you how we got here in terms of like Hindutva. So basically the long story short is that they invent this idea of a Hindu majority, not the Hindu nationalists per se, but these Brahmins that were the advisors of the British, they invent this idea of a Hindu majority, and the Hindutva crowd wants to basically weaponize this against Muslims. Now, the fatal flaw in that is if everyone realizes, if most of the people in India realize that they're being f***ed over by the upper caste, right? That they're just being used by the upper caste. And one way of indicating that, one way of collecting data and showing that to the broader population is through the caste census, is through collecting caste data through the Indian census, right? Because that way, people are able, the government collects how much land, how much power, or what the representation of government jobs each and every single broad category of caste actually has. And the idea behind that is when the OBCs, scheduled castes, who are the Dalits, the most oppressed caste, and the Adivasis, once they find out that they're being constantly over, that they have zero representation, they have no land whatsoever, then they're basically going to rebel against the upper castes. Now, Modi just recently released, they recently said, hey, we're going to implement the caste census after a lot of political pressure. Now, my conspiracy theory is that this is a diversion tactic. This is a diversion tactic from that. That's my conspiracy theory.
So he's using the terror attack as an opportunity to move the discourse away and unite India, no caste, just even Muslims alongside Hindus. Like, we're one united India attacking against a nation that has consistently done terror attacks inside of India. And just that's the justification.
Yeah, it's mine. I know.
Okay. Well, it's very late here, so I have one last question for you. Where do you see this going? Especially considering you might have gotten it wrong last time in terms of like it won't escalate that much.
I have no idea. I have no idea where this is going to go. I'm not going to make any predictions.
Okay. So we need China to come in and quash the tensions.
I don't know if China's going to help, considering they also have tensions with India. But
yeah, they need to occupy Kashmir in its entirety. That's what I think. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. I'm not saying that seriously. Nobody clip that.
The committees are going to get pissed off at you for that.
I know. That was a joke. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not being serious at all about that. Okay. Well, thank you, Arun, for coming on.
All right, man. Anytime.
And explaining your theories. Love to have you on as always. Arun Annow, everybody. If you can learn more about this stuff from him, he's Tamil HasanAbi. He used to be Indian HasanAbi. Now he's Tamil HasanAbi.
Yeah. I was the Indian HasanAbi because I couldn't explain like what Tamil was to people. But now India's rep is so in the toilet that I'd much rather try and explain to people what Tamil actually is.
I feel you. All right. Well, have a good one, dude.
You too, man. Take it easy.
All right. Bye.